bunch of, this is kind of interesting because it is a whole bunch. This is BCS 1957, which is the BCS Publications channel. So you can see there is indeed lots of stuff there. And some of the recent stuff is good. This was from the Training and Professional Development Summit. Some of the old stuff is not so good. But I can search. So if I search for, I'm going to search for this for a moment. Right, and somewhere down here, right, so that tells you, this is a little test I did last week. As one of my group members, and these are other YouTube video stuff that I've made. They're just trivial testing, not really of any great interest, but just to show that you can stream from your Google Plus account to a LinkedIn YouTube account, and that is essentially unlimited in its scalability.
Are you in trouble for who watches that YouTube?
No. No. YouTube is completely open.
But there's no interaction, presumably.
No interaction.
Oh, sorry, what do you mean it's completely open? Sorry, YouTube is completely
anybody can watch anything on YouTube.
No.
If you okay, you're saying you may be able to impose controls.
You can.
Right, fine. But that's down to what you do on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah.
Separately from.
And you can flip back to, so say you broadcast a meeting and then you have a Q&A session, you can say if you wanted, you flip back onto the Google, whatever it's called, Hangout, and then they can participate in that question.
But only 10 people.
Yeah, but that's, if you could manage it, it would be okay. Yeah.
Yes. Right. But this offers you much greater scalability. So let's get rid of that.
Have you got this messaging? Go to Google Plus. So
You have.
Messaging to
On Google Plus you have, yes. So,
well, yeah, exactly. I think Google
right,
Plus.
this is your chat channel here. So anybody who's signed on to Google Plus can be sending you a message.
Yeah.
Or you could do that any other way, right? With Twitter or anybody's chat option. So there are other ways of feeding back, rather than you don't have to be in electronic meeting. And just to conclude this bit here, I'm going to search for Colin's channel. Right? Here's Colin's channel. This is what we were doing this morning. And no, sorry, I've done it in the wrong place. I need to do it here, don't I? I'm searching the wrong damn thing. Excuse me. Right. Now that says live now. We'll see if it really is. Oh, it is. Look. Okay, guys, we are on YouTube, and we really have got our broadcast. For some reason, it didn't work this morning, and I can't explain that.
So what are you showing us now?
What I'm showing you is Colin Pearson's YouTube channel, and on his YouTube channel, right, it says, right, his channel has all this stuff. Okay. Right. So this is an SG meeting that was done a month ago. Standard video. Okay. Here's stuff that was done this morning, and I don't know whether this has come through or not. And for some reason that didn't work, and we don't know why. This should have been Maggie's session this morning. Okay? But what I can say is that the session we're running now, live now, is that what you're showing, Colin?
Maybe. I must confess that the two problems I've encountered today, one is that the screen that I'm looking at is actually often a reflection, a mirror reflection of what's actually going out. But as I say, we know that Geoff was getting it successfully, so it didn't really matter that monitoring.
Right.
And also my monitoring does tend to freeze on me. So again, if you're going to do this, my strong recommendation is that you have two laptops, one of which, such as the one I'm sitting in front of at the moment, is connected to the cameras and has a copy of the PowerPoint presentations on it, and on that you can actually control what is being transmitted. But I think you should have a second laptop, as indeed Geoff has, which is connected up as a viewer, because then you can be certain of seeing exactly what really is being sent out. And in particular also monitoring the sound level that's going out.
Right, so Colin, what are you actually broadcasting at the moment?
Well, I believe I'm broadcasting a picture of the main screen there. And in fact, if I actually zoom out or zoom back in, I'm zooming in and zooming out on that screen at the moment.
So that's the hangout there. You're, all right. So there. Can you now can you show us something different, please?
Well, I can show you on the side of the screen.
Right.
I've got half the screen, and that's what I thought I'd got anyway.
Right. Okay, that's good enough. That's good enough. So that's the room. And if I now go back to YouTube, right? I go back to YouTube. Is that really YouTube? No, that's not it. Let me get rid of that. Somewhere I've got YouTube. Right, and we're showing the same thing on YouTube. So sorry that took a moment, but
Yep, you can see
what we're
me.
seeing there is exactly the same thing as going on in the Hangout. Now, I don't think we'll turn the microphones on and the speakers on, because we'll get horrible echoes from one feeding back to the other. But when I did this test at home a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, I found that there was actually a 10-second delay between the YouTube broadcast and the Hangout. And in fact, if I do that, there you see the delay. All right? If you're 50 miles away, who cares? Doesn't make any difference. But I think that's enough to demonstrate the technology works. Okay? There are certainly some rough edges, but you know, if with the force of a company like Google behind it, one assumes it's going to get better. So this does seem to have a lot to offer, and my basic thesis is you can get started doing this with nothing more sophisticated than a webcam. Right? And when we stop this, when we close this electronic meeting, the recording of that session will automatically be posted on YouTube, and therefore it's a record that's available to everybody. Now again, that's not necessarily perfection. That may not be the best resource for the long term, but it does have the great advantage of being very immediate. And if you couldn't actually tune into the live broadcast, you could watch it 2 hours later. And that's pretty good, it seems to me, in terms of immediacy of participation. Now, just to make the thing more fun, here's my phone, and my phone is showing me Colin's videos from 2 months ago. If I redo the search, go back. Right, if I redo the search, Colin Pearson.
By the way, if you do search for Colin Pearson, there are about half a dozen Colin Pearsons on there, including one with a proposal of marriage. And if you do find the right one, which you should do, because I've got a BCS logo against me, bear in mind that the other material on there is samples of a variable quality. They're not intended to be the final production version of what we put up.
Right. All I'm demonstrating here is the point that, and it hasn't got through to Android phone, and I can't tell you why, but if I did the same thing on my own channel, okay, right. And here's the four things that happen to be on my channel, 2 of which are online meeting tests from a week or so ago. Okay, so they did get through to this, and you know, not everybody in the world has a smartphone, but here's another opportunity for participation, and that should work for anyone, anywhere. You know, the international reach of this seems to me to be extraordinary. And yeah, it's true that not everyone has a smartphone, but you know, that does really go a long way towards reaching out. So I think we've done enough to demonstrate that this is worth putting some effort. We'll hopefully get better as we go along. So let me just briefly talk about the technology. This here is, I just skip past you, sorry about that. Let me point out the tripod cost a great deal more than the webcam. It's a Microsoft Studio LifeCam. You can buy it on Amazon for about 50 quid. You can actually get a cheaper one for 40 quid, but this one is full 1080/50p HD. The cheaper one is only 720 HD. But it's perfectly good. Right, okay.
It's perfectly good now.
Yeah.
But there's so many TVs and monitors coming out at 1080p plus.
Yeah.
That by the time we get used to the technology.
Exactly, and that was my thing. You might as well buy it. You might as well buy the best you can, because it's only a little bit more. And by the time you've got it really under your belt, you'll be able to use it. Okay. Likewise with the camcorder. I'll just unhook it from the power for the moment. I can pass this round. This little gadget here it's Panasonic. It costs 400 quid. It's also full HD. It's got a lovely stereo microphone on the front. You can see 2 grills there. It's got a good zoom.
I think it's 486, or maybe 400.
No, it's 406 on Amazon.
Well, okay, I bought one.
Yeah, on PC World. The thing the reason, don't go to the Panasonic website, okay? The reason we bought Panasonic is they are the manufacturer who offer this microphone input socket, and I'll talk about that in a moment, what you can do with that. you know, it may well be that the stereo microphone is good enough, and we found in the room today, with the application from the PA system, that the sound was perfectly good enough to be picked up on these microphones. Sometimes it isn't, and if you need to do better than that, you can plug in an external microphone. Right. But you can get cheaper camcorders, you know, £100, £150. You can get one that optically is fine, but it doesn't have that feature, and that's, unfortunately, they restrict that as a feature for the more expensive models.
This one was the which Best Buy in January 2012.
Yeah, I've looked at several other makes of camcorder, but Panasonic do seem to do better on this particular thing. Okay, so I'll pass that around if you want to look at it.
But you wouldn't
Sorry, how long is USB?
No, I'll talk about that in a second. Okay.
While Geoff's just doing that, this particular camera is rather older. It actually records on tape rather than on a memory card. But it does have the great advantage that it's got a FireWire connection. And normally I'd actually be using one of my older laptops with a FireWire connection to it, which makes a much better quality image on the computer at the end of the day and broadcasting. But meanwhile, I'm using what Geoff is actually looking for at the moment, not the particular one he's looking for, but we have a simple gadget that connects into the AV out socket here, and it converts it. It's called an Easy Cap. It converts the signal to being a USB signal. Oh, I can get away to all these wires.
Right, okay, so...
Just found it now.
I was going to come on to microphones, and essentially what you get with your phone, which is actually a remarkably good microphone. It's got a, thing that goes about here is a microphone, and you've got speakers. They're equivalent. So I've got another one which I couldn't find, which is a 3-metre piece of wire with a little stereo microphone on the end. It cost me 10 quid, and the quality of recording from that is no problem at all. Right. So external microphone plugged into your socket on your camcorder, fine. And what that will do is it will record on the SD card in the camcorder, 16GB memory card in the camcorder, and you've got yourself an offline recording. Okay, I'll explain what I mean by offline, online at the moment, where the microphone input is combined with a video picture and recorded on the card. Okay, if you have a speaker who doesn't like being tied with a bit of wire to something, which is very often the case, you need a different kind of microphone. And this microphone here, this was bought across the road in Maplin, and it's actually the posh model. Okay, there's a cheaper model. But this here is, the essential bit of kit is this, which is a wireless base station, okay? Just, power with a power supply. And you can hook into that one of these, which everybody knows about, which is a speaker body pack microphone, okay? And most speakers are quite happy to wear these. And you've also got roving microphones of the sort that we were using this morning, and you've actually got a headset microphone as well, just thrown in for free. That kit cost £140. £140, okay, was, it's got 2 channels, so it can take 2 microphones at the same time. So you can use your body pack microphone and your roving microphone for question and answer, and both will come out on the output. Now, a little bit of cable here, which is somewhere in my bag. That cable, take cable out of here, which is a standard big AV socket, jack socket to a 3.5mm jack socket, which goes into your camera, into the slot on the video camera, and you've got yourself a wireless microphone. So that's, you know, these are degrees of sophistication, and I suggest that you start with the simplest possible thing, rather than launch into sophisticated stuff to start with. But this, we've used this at Advanced Programming Specialist Group for the best part of a year, with good results. Right, so then you come to, that's all very fine if I want to record on the card in a camcorder, on memory card, but if I actually want to record in the computer, or if I want to broadcast, I've got to get to the computer. Okay? The webcam has the huge advantage that you're already hooked straight to the computer, and under your feet is snaking a USB extension cable. Okay? Maybe not pretty, but that people say that USB has, you know, a maximum range of 3 meters or something, but that cable has got a little repeater built into it, powered from the computer. 20-meter cable cost, I think it was something like 15 to 20 pounds. So again, not an expensive item, and we've been using that all day quite successfully. Okay. If you want to use the posh camera and hook into the computer, then you need this gadget that Colin was referring to, which is known as an EasyCam. This is the cable that comes with the camcorder. That ends up with 3 plugs, which are colloquially known as RCA sockets. And the EasyCam takes those 3, takes the input. The yellow is video, the white and red are audio on their left and right channels. Okay? And on the end here is a USB plug that goes straight into your laptop. Okay? Now, there is, I have to give you, this cost 20 quid, but I have to give you a word of warning, which is that there are, when you go on to Amazon or any of these other sites and search for EasyCam, which is the generic name for these things, you find dozens of different makes. Some of them work, some of them don't work. Okay?
Can't we just take the micro USB
No.
to USB?
No.
Okay.
And that's, unfortunately, that's the biggest failure with those things. The USB only works to transfer files. So once you've finished your recording, you can transfer the file to the computer, or you can just take the card out of the thing and plug it into your laptop. Either works just as well. Okay? And that's fine for after the event. So, you know, if what you want to do is take the recording and edit it, that works fine. If you want to do a live broadcast, it's no good.
No, sorry, Geoff. I've used your camera with an EasyCap to broadcast.
No, I didn't say that. USB,
To the
USB you can't use.
There's a USB within the camera.
Ah, sorry, the camera's own. Sorry, okay, camera's own
Can't use
USB.
USB.
And that's probably why you get the delay here.
No, I don't think so.
It is because what's happening is you're having to do the coding, because you're having to code from the video. And all
You're doing a D2A, I agree.
Yeah, okay, so
An
that takes
HD.
delay, and also that's why the PC increases as well, because the process and trying to do that within the PC isn't strong enough.
Well, there is a delay, and in fact, I don't know if you can detect it, we can detect it for you, but it's less than a second. It's not, no, that delay is all in Google servers. That 10-second delay that I showed you on the screen is all in Google servers, and that's an order of magnitude bigger than the delay that you're getting through this. So don't worry about this. Now, this is not a perfect, I mean, we can give you, if you decide that you're interested in this, we can give you information about it. It's not a perfect solution. This only works at standard definition quality. It does not work with it doesn't provide an HD output. What you get out of that, out of the video output socket on the camera, which this fits into, is just a standard TV picture. Old common old garden TV standard picture. Okay? So it's not a perfect solution. There is also an HDMI output in the camera, and you can certainly hook that to your TV and you'll see the picture in HD. We believe that there are boxes on the market that will take an HD signal from the output and give you that into your computer, but to be frank, we haven't gone there. We haven't gone to investigate those because we're talking at least 200 quid for those boxes and probably more. So we've decided not to go there. This is the cheap solution, and you can judge the picture quality from, yes, I'm going to run out of power in a minute, never mind.
One question I've got while we've got Anthony here.
You're on that camera now, aren't you?
Yep.
So that's SD quality, and is the picture good enough?
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask, whether Anthony can answer it, is how can we make the picture of you bigger on that screen? Does anybody know enough about Google Hangout to be able to make that picture bigger?
There's an icon on the black bar on the right-hand side.
Oh, here we go.
There we go, yeah.
There you go.
Ah, right. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay. My point is, just to summarise that bit of the debate, my point is that you do lose quality if you go through this device, but it may still be acceptable, right? And you, especially in a live broadcast situation where actually having something is, a million miles better than having nothing. Those are all the bits of technology. Is there anything we've overlooked, Colin?
I don't think so, other than I might add that you're a good example of why you should have a speaker tied with a microphone cable to the...
Okay, my apologies.
Don't worry, if you, if you can run the thing with 3 volunteers, that is not a bad idea, because you could do it with one operating the camera, one actually doing the mixing of the slides, the PowerPoints and the pictures, and somebody else sitting on another one just monitoring what is actually going out.
And I thought you were going to say one holding the presenter down. Yeah, go ahead.
Editing.
Editing, right. Okay, that we haven't talked about that, so let's do that. Yeah. If you compare a live broadcast with what you'd ideally like, with what you prefer to see the next day, a live broadcast will have all the, I'd like to introduce so-and-so, and the thank you very much, and the coughs and sneezes, and the I can't find the next slide, and all those things that you'd really prefer not to see on a recording, because when you sit down to watch a recording, you don't want to spend any longer than you really have to. And
the initial 10 minutes in terms of, how do I make this work, or I can't quite do that.
Exactly. So there are lots of good reasons for why you would want to edit your output. Okay? Let's talk about how you do that first of all, and then let's talk about the problems. The how, there's more than one way of doing it. One way is to take the card out of your camcorder, or to take your recording file and actually put that straight into an editor. The one that we've used most, several members of the working group have got their own copies of it, is one called Camtasia, which is available for Windows and Mac, and it's relatively reasonable on the Mac. It's 75 quid on the Mac, but it's something like 250 on Windows.
Except that we have found a source that's got some of the previous edition, which is perfectly good at £20.
We've found a source who has still got licenses for version 7. They've now got a version 8, and version 7, was it eBay licenses for version 7 were 20 quid instead of 250. So there are always ways of saving money. Camtasia for Windows has a lot more function than Camtasia for Mac, which may explain the price difference. But basically, and I can show you on here, I do this. Applications.
By the way, Jeff, are you going to, is there going to be a copy of all of this stuff available here? Or what do you plan to do?
We will, when we process them, we will take the recordings of the main sessions today and we will get those onto the volunteer portal. So you can look at the main 10 speeches and so on, right? That's about the limit of what we've committed to doing for today.
And there will be,
That's not what I'm
there'll
referring
be
to.
notes of the other sessions.
Will there be notes? Because I confess I haven't done anything about notes in this session.
I'll do it.
All right.
I'll send
You'll
you
make
checklists,
notes.
yes.
Fantastic.
That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the equipment, the software.
What about it?
Where is it? Are you
That's
suggesting that every
documented
group that
somewhere.
wants to use it?
Well, as I've said, the equipment is going to be held here,
That's what I'm saying.
right? It's held by Paul. As I said, for right now, I would ask you please to come to a member of the working group and ask for their help in setting up the equipment and using it. But our intention is to get to the point where it's just straight bookable, like a laptop. Okay?
And
But I don't think we should do that before we've got training material out there and so on. Because, you know, it's obvious that the stuff people can get a bad experience from not having the right skills. And in the worst case, we could actually, you know, something could go wrong. So that's the only caveat. But my intention is that the stuff will be, and you know, if we need more equipment than we've got today, then if it's justified, then I see no reason why we shouldn't acquire more. This equipment is cheap enough that we can afford to have it in each major centre. You know, and when we started up on this line, I had quite a number of people saying, we can't give every branch and every specialist group their own equipment. You know, this is 500 quid for every branch, it's too much. But we don't need to do that. All we need to do is have it somewhere available in major centres where it can be shared. Okay? And the only exception to that, I would say, is the webcam, which I think is cheap enough that everyone can afford to have one. So does that answer the question?
It does. I mean, what you're doing is exactly right, and you're pushing it forward, and that's all great. I despair from the point of view of BCS. We're supposed to be at the leading edge of IT. We're actually at the trailing edge.
Yes, well, yes and no. Yes and no, right? And so let me answer that question.
Yeah, sure.
In the course of this study, quite a number of people have said to me, oh, BCS, no, you want to look at IET. IET is fantastic. They really, you know, they've spent so much money, they can show you what to do. I went and looked at IET and I found, yeah, they have a YouTube channel. It has half the number of recordings on it that BCS 1957 has. It has half the number of views that BCS 1957 has. Okay? They have a legal agreement that they require every speaker to sign, which is pages long, and nobody here. You know, if I showed it to any of my speakers, they'd just say, run away. Sonny, I don't want to play that game. Right? So I'm not convinced that they actually are so great. What is clear is that if you spend the money, you can do professional quality events. And in fact, BCS does that too. BCS Publications hires Zest TV to do some of its events. And they charge something in the region of £1,000 a day. Right? So if you spend the money, sure, you can do professionally produced videos. But that's if you've looked at any of the BCS Publications things, you sense that it's not quite as immediate as the stuff that member groups are doing, and it's not quite as engaging. You know, it tends to be much more general stuff. You know, so I think we are doing something that the other institutes are not doing, frankly, in trying to popularise this and bring it really to the grassroots level. That's my thesis, and I will, you know, yeah, we all. I can find lots of things to complain about BCS. But you know, I think it's died. But what is always true is if somebody doesn't start somewhere, nothing will ever happen. So, you know, what the hell? That's it, roll the dice.
Let me just repeat. I applaud what you're doing. It's going in exactly the right direction. But I despair for where the BCS is up to. On Wednesday, I'll be running an event which would have been great to video, etc., etc. I will be videoing it, but I don't want it to go out live. And my speaker has said he doesn't want it to go out live either. And on Thursday, I'm events director of another organisation, and I'll be running an event. It will all be professionally videoed at a cost of £800 for the session, and it will be available. The take-up in terms of people who watch those videos, I've been monitoring, is astonishingly low. It's like 2% of people. That's a different issue. All of this technology is here and now. I'll be using this on Wednesday and that on Thursday. On Thursday, I just don't need to worry about any of this because there's some dedicated resource, cost £800, they bring their equipment, they produce incredibly professional results. And
but see, darling,
this is the point.
If I can butt in, I think you've made the point, which is that you can spend £800, you can have professionally produced events, and still not get the take-up.
I know, but what BCS doesn't, what we in BCS don't seem to want to do, is that BCS should have, let's say here, 2 dedicated people, or 3 if you follow your 3-person model.
Well,
you're volunteers, we're all volunteers.
I think the only thing we can do that is discuss it offline.
So I think once the demand warrants that, fair enough. The big issue at the moment is, well, all this stuff may be out there, and how do you find it? You know, who's going to find the recording of your event on Thursday? I doubt very much if I can find it. I want it to.
Yeah.
And that's the next key bit that we haven't really looked at. Is
well, we have, right? But I mean,
but what you're doing is
you're right
on a voluntary level.
But you
need the commitment from BCS paid people.
Well, and I agree with you completely that what volunteers do needs to be supported by the organisation. But there again, I think it's a chicken and egg thing. Question about it?
Yeah. Karen's really made the point. I think he's really very disagreeing here. What I think you've been trying to do this last year is excellent, because really what we're trying to do is, as BCS branches and SGs, is find a relatively easy way of us making our meetings more available to people. We're not setting out to produce part of the BCS online television channel. And I think if you bear that in mind, what you're doing is it's spot on. It's a reasonable effort to just get things to reach out a little bit further. That's all we're trying to do. And in a way, try and entice people to say, yeah, well, that was interesting. Pity about the video wasn't the greatest quality. I'll go in person next week, which is what we want them to do, really.
Yes, but don't get something that can't.
No, but we're reaching those people, and I think that's just what we need to do. It's spot on. We don't want to do
I think we have to reach them with whatever quality we can achieve.
Yeah, we'll do the best we can, but
it's
we're not.
Better than not reaching them.
Yes.
Sorry, you had a point. Sorry, you had.
There's a couple of small branches have the same problem. We in Hampshire, people can go over way saying, oh, we can't attend your meetings, we can't get to the island.
Because the last ferry's gone, yes.
Yes. Why don't you have meetings over there? Can you go over there and do meetings?
Exactly, it doesn't work, does it? It doesn't work. And I get regular requests for please run a meeting in some other part of the country. Yeah. And it's not going to work.
When you talk about the webcam, you sort of said, oh, the tripod costs a lot more. I mean, can you get an effective tripod without having to buy one of those?
Yes.
You seem to me you were rather over, saying it's only 50 quid. 50 quid for the webcam is not much good if you can't have it nice and steady.
I'm an amateur photographer, and this is a Manfrotto tripod, which is one of the makes that professionals and very keen amateurs buy, and this piece of equipment costs £200, right? The tripod on the back, which is perfectly good, costs £35. So yes, shop around.
The other thing is, when this idea of having a committee meeting using this Google system, does that imply that everybody at the meeting has a laptop with a webcam on it?
They do need a webcam. It can be an external webcam. You buy an external webcam very cheaply.
Everybody has to have a laptop.
You have, it depends. If several of you are in one room, one laptop is enough for that. Right? If you're in different locations, you need a laptop in each location. And that, by the way, is that's just for your, it's just for your consideration. It's not a recommendation. It's just, hey, there's technology there. It's free. Why not use it? Right.
In the other room, you said that it's trains and pay providing money.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
Well, I was talking about the legal aspect, and I was saying that if you want to take a recording and actually sell it in some way through some paid-for channel, you will find the full weight of commercial interests down on your neck, and people who insist on very tightly drafted agreements, etc.